Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another webinar on Electrical Schematic Designer, Dassault Systems ESX. We are going to take a quick look into what ESX, Electrical Schematic Designer, has to offer. I am joined by Joseph Wilkie, CJ Shirk, and Eric Leafquist, and your host today, JP Emanuel. We are all part of the electrical team here at Dassault Systems, specifically working on the electrical tools. One thing I would like to bring up, a little housekeeping as far as, making sure there's interaction between, ourselves here, the panelists, and you out there watching our webinar. If you have questions while we're going through this presentation, please ask those questions. In order to answer those questions, they need to be put into the Q&A. Don't use the chat. We don't monitor the chat. Please type them there. They are recorded. So if we can, we'll reach out to you later on if we don't get to those questions today. So today, what are we talking about ultimately? What is today's purpose? What is the purpose of today's meeting and this webinar? Well, the agenda includes solving the business issues with Electrical Schematic Designer, and then taking a deeper look into what exactly is Electrical Schematic Designer. What comes out of the box when we take a look at this tool? So first, solving business issues with Electrical Schematic Designer. CJ, I know you have a lot to talk about this particular topic here, so let's jump right in and take care of that.
All right, thank you, JP. So we like to say we're not in the software business, we're in the outcomes business. And the top three among the top 6 critical business issues are time, quality, and cost. Innovation is important as well as hitting system specifications and meeting regulatory requirements. You may be surprised to learn that only 45% of products, according to Gartner, ship on time, and only 11% of companies ship all their products on time during the course of the year. This can result in less time to market, less profits, potentially loss of market share. And I think the other thing is it really gives you less time to innovate and consider what could be better design alternatives just because you're pressed for time. It also is well known that cost is locked in during the design about 70–80%. We know that ECOs and ECNs have a very high impact on product costs. More time means more labor cost, and excess material and material waste also is a direct driver on cost. Turning to quality, there's really 2 dimensions to quality. There's a visible side of quality and the hidden side. The visible side is pretty obvious. It's loss of reputation, kind of like getting a bad score on Yelp or Amazon review, loss of resources, time wasted on doing rework, and potential warranty costs. On the hidden side, excess inventories, potential fines and legal fees. Sometimes there's overtime spent to correct problems. There can be disruption costs from non-performance. And of course, a lot of organizations have to overbuild for increased safety margin just because they don't have the tools and technology to really accurately design in the first place. You end up overbuilding it and making it bigger and stronger and beefier.
You know, CJ, that whole idea of the hidden cost is really an important one to bring up. And I recall a customer very early on when we started with SolidWorks Electrical years ago, and the owner was so motivated by just the excess inventories alone. He was really frustrated that he had significant warehouse space and, of course, significant capital tied up in just stocking items that were double ordered on his bills of materials. The challenge that he faced was that while his electrical engineering tool did generate a bill of materials, their mechanical engineering tool also generated bills of materials, and the teams would rarely get together to just quality check the bill of materials so that they wouldn't order duplicate items. As a result, they had shelves full of motors. They had a whole area for excess cabinets that they had ordered that they couldn't send back. So it was a real problem, and it was certainly enough to motivate them to replace 20 licenses of a competing electrical engineering tool with SolidWorks Electrical at the time.
Excellent point. Thank you, Joe. So root cause of a lot of this really comes down to the fact that a lot of an engineer's time, as much as a half, or in some cases more, is spent doing non-engineering tasks. 50% of the time, that's a lot of time wasted. It could be better spent designing. So if you break that down, a lot of times it really comes down to collaboration and communication. It's searching for information, waiting for information, preparing information for others for meetings, answering questions, waiting for updates, etc. A lot of lost due to friction here. And some statistics that we've also gathered from various engineering analyst studies, including Tech Clarity at Aberdeen and Tech and Gartner Group, as I mentioned earlier. And some of the statistics are pretty eye-watering. 20% of the time, engineers are working with out-of-date information. 22% searching for information. I've had customers tell me that's as high as 40%. And 12% of the time, we've been heard through reports, are redrawing things that they couldn't find. It was too hard to find it, so they just redrew it. And a staggering 41% take 2 or more days to update an entire team on engineering changes. All this really results in a lot of rework, poor efficiency, delayed time to market, a lot of bad things. So technology can make an impact, because if we could increase the speed and accuracy of information, if everybody had the accurate information immediately, these are some of the outcomes you could see: faster time to market, lower cost, better quality. Basically, the sooner you can make decisions, the better it is for the product development time and cost.
And we had a customer, I remember, that checked all those items that you just listed right there. I know JP and I had worked with them years ago, and because their systems were more configured than built from clean sheet designs, they were reusing a lot of data by just copying and pasting information on old projects. But in the process, they'd make a lot of mistakes where they'd forget to adjust, the voltage requirement of one item. And as a result, what they found is that because they didn't have high quality and on high quality control between their documents and their schematic drawings, not only were they seeing a lot of rework and delayed projects, which was affecting the number of jobs they could engage with in a given year, but were also burning through about $1,000 worth of scrap parts that they just had to throw away after installing, testing, and finding out that they were the wrong ones. It was a real challenge that we were able to help them solve.
Yeah, and to that end as well, a lot of times people don't have the opportunity and the time to create a full documentation package. Sometimes some of the documents that you'd like to have, it's just too time consuming to create them, so they skip them and ended up paying for annual mistakes downstream. But ultimately in engineering, we have to balance between time, quality, and cost. You get to pick two. If you want to go fast, it's going to be expensive. If you want to go quick and cheap, it's going to impact quality. Ultimately, our viewpoint and why we're here today is if you have better technology, you have intelligent technology like SOLIDWORKS Electrical Schematic Designer, you get more of everything. It makes the trade-offs more palatable and more compelling for the organization. So what we're going to do next is we're going to get into how the technology itself, using a modern state-of-the-art, intelligent, database-driven schematic capture tool, can really help you optimize time, quality, and cost.
Thanks, CJ. That's a great overview on a lot of the things that we run into here, right? Visiting companies all around the world, especially here in North America, we see it all the time. So the next piece of this, I'd like to really dive into a little bit, and it all starts with this question right here. What is Electrical Schematic Designer? What does it bring to the table? How can it help us? So with that said, Eric, first question for you, why a new role?
Right, JP. Well, a new role is really a role is just another term we use for a new product. And so in order to be able to build on what Joe touched on, our years of experience with SOLIDWORKS electrical schematic, we needed to take that technology and build it into a form, build it into a role that could work with the 3D Experience platform. So that would be that's a way, that was a requirement to help enable our SOLIDWORKS users, our valuable customers that are involved in electrotechnical type tasks, often described as machine design also, but can bridge a range of different industries, but give them a way to build on the technology that we have, but be able to add the technology of the 3D Experience platform. So this is a real empowering approach in our view for both the SOLIDWORKS users, but now the SOLIDWORKS electrical schematic technology is now available to those in the CATIA community as well. So those users can in fact use it, leverage it in the creation of machines and other electrotechnical type tasks. So lots of reasons and lots of value in building this new role, JP.
Speaking of the electrical technical design, right? That's a big term that we're using a lot these days. Electrotechnical. What are the things that this tool can do, right? In my view here, we can take a look at this drawing or these drawings that we have here, and we put these images on the screen here to kind of help solidify a little bit more of a mental image of what can actually be done, right, Eric? What's the best way to describe this?
Yeah, sure. Well, any design task, JP, involves a lot of different documents, as you point out. We've got a small sampling here. And of course, this entails creating a couple different kinds of schematics. So some of these are very planning-centric schematics, like typically single line, just a single line connecting symbols can be used for the preliminary phases. Then we can go into multi-line schematics. Then where we're connecting with, say, three-phase motors with multiple connections, one for each line, for example, one leg of the power supply. And then, of course, as we start to build schematics, we want to be able to keep track of everything. So there's reporting that's involved and drawings, detailed breakouts, for example, of wires and harnesses and sections like that that go into what ultimately becomes and what we're grouping under the term electrotechnical type designs. Often these are most visibly identified as, say, a control panel or a control cabinet, something that would be used to control a machine, perhaps be a control system for a building. But those types of designs are really well suited for Electrical Schematic Designer.
Awesome. So real quick because I think I might have messed this up on my end here. Can you hear the tinging of my volume right now?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. That means I set my share screen up correctly, and we're ready to take on to the next slide here. So with that said, thank you, Eric, on that. Let's dive in a little deeper. We have a little bit of a presentation within a presentation here to take this to the next level and hopefully brings a little bit more light in how 3D Experience Platform and Electrical Schematic Designer connect together. We're bringing more tools to your fingertips by blurring the line between SOLIDWORKS and CATIA by way of the 3D Experience Platform. If you take what I just said into consideration, it only makes sense based on our recent history that we should expect schematic capture capabilities to be included within the 3D Experience platform. Let me introduce you to Electrical Schematic Designer. Electrical Schematic Designer is an intelligent schematic design tool that helps improve electrical system development speed and quality, all while storing vital project information within the platform. Before we dive straight into what Electrical Schematic Designer has to offer, we need to understand how this tool interacts with the 3D Experience platform. Welcome to Smoothie Co. We design, manufacture, and assemble a variety of commercial frozen beverage machines. Beverages such as fruit smoothies, frozen margaritas, and other delicious beverages. We also package and distribute our own line of liquid flavor packs that are specifically designed to be used within our machines. Our electrical engineering team is responsible for both sides of our business, which includes each drink machine's internal electrical design and the overall electrical system for our automated liquid filling machines. Let me introduce you to the team. First and foremost is our electrical engineering manager, Vandana. She definitely has her hands full, being in charge of all the electrical systems our company develops. Her team includes Eric and Vance, who work on the commercial product line, as well as Thomas and myself, who work on the automated liquid filling equipment. Our company has had some incredible success over the past couple of years, and therefore we're expanding, which means we need to increase production, which in turn means it's time to upgrade our equipment. This upgrade will also give us an opportunity to explore new design tools for our engineering teams. Naturally, we defined some requirements as we began to evaluate new design solutions. Some of those requirements include staying on track with deadlines, communicating design intent, expressing logistical concerns, generating accurate project reports, and even sharing or collaborating directly with our customers. After careful consideration, our engineering team has made the decision to utilize the power of the 3D experience. The team has just started exploring and interacting with the 3D experience platform, and we're getting our feet wet with some of the collaboration tools we want to utilize. First, I'm going to create a brand new dashboard. This new interface will really help us organize our company's engineering information and schedule, as well as keep track of any associated electrical data. So I have to give it a name. So let's call it Smoothie Co. Electrical Internal Dashboard. I'll also give it a description so we all know that this is our internal dashboard. As of right now, I'm the only one who has access to this new dashboard. So I'm going to go ahead and invite the entire electrical team so we can begin to interact. I'm going to assign everyone as a contributor for now. That way they can start adding content, but not necessarily change certain settings. It is nice to know that we can set permissions within each dashboard, especially for specific use cases, like during the summer months when we'll need to provide access to our interns, or maybe when we're sharing information with a contractor. Now comes the fun part. What types of information should we display within our dashboard? Ultimately, what do we want our dashboard to look like? There are a lot of different tools that we can use. Well, the first one we decided to add was a new 3D Swim community. Within this new community, we can include content we've created through a simple post, an idea we want to share, ask a question, conduct a survey, or maybe by adding specific media related to our projects. In addition to the community, I've set up a conversation between the members of our team, similar to a text message or a chat window on your computer, but instead it's directly integrated within the platform. Besides adding posts and other content to our new community, we needed a way to store our engineering documents, all of our projects, models, assemblies, schematics, spec sheets. You get the idea. That's where 3D Drive and 3D Space come into play. Now, they each have their rightful place within the platform, and it's good to know where your information should reside. 3D Drive is very similar to other online storage solutions, where we can store our files and share them with both internal and external users of 3D Experience. An added bonus, we can actually connect those other storage accounts to 3D Drive, making it even easier to access information. Similar to 3D Drive, 3D Space also allows us to store information. However, it is directly tied to Innovia, which allows us to access even more capabilities within the 3D Experience platform. Looking at it from a different point of view, 3D Space allows us to manage our data like a product data management solution with workflows, maturity states, and permissions. Adding content is very easy. I can choose to add content and browse for the file I want to upload, or simply drag and drop my files into the desired location. Besides an intelligent storage solution, we need a method to organize and assign ownership to our projects, and more importantly, the tasks that are associated to those projects. A very powerful tool that caught our eye when we first started evaluating the platform was the project planning application. My manager Vandana gravitated directly towards this application because it helps keep track of all the different tasks that our team is responsible for. Speaking of which, Vandana just informed me that she's about to add several new tasks for our team. Creating a task is very easy. Type the title of the task and select Add or Add and Open. Personally, I prefer to select Add and Open, which automatically opens the task details. We can add a description to help everyone understand what the task is for, set a priority level for the task, set a maturity state, as well as select a start date and either a planned end date or an estimated duration for the task completion. We can also include any necessary attachments and deliverables. And most important, assign a team member to the task for completion. I just received a notification that Vandana has assigned several new tasks. First up, I have to start researching new proximity sensors for one of our conveyor systems. Once we've decided on the appropriate sensor, I'll tackle the rest of the tasks, such as ordering the parts, editing the information in our schematics, updating our reports, and eventually installation. In order to let everyone know I've started the task, I'll move the task to the In Work column. Now it's time to dig in and research those new proximity sensors. I've narrowed down the search for new sensors to 2 possible options. I've uploaded a couple images, spec sheets, and some comments to our community so that the rest of the team can provide feedback. I'm also going to move the research task from in work to completed. On to the next task. Since this is an upgrade to the existing machine, it's time to edit the existing schematic. Let's prepare for the next major step in utilizing the 3D Experience platform, Electrical Schematic Designer. Electrical Schematic Designer is the platform-connected schematic capture tool that our team is going to utilize for all of our future projects because our company is committed and is moving forward with its cloud initiative. Opening Electrical Schematic Designer is easy. Just like all the other platform applications, we open the schematic tool through the compass. Once the application is open, the project manager becomes available. This manager is where I can perform operations such as retrieve, open, or save our projects. We notice that there are no available projects, so we're going to want to load our project from the server, which really means we're going to be connecting to the 3D space. 3D space can hold a lot of files. Conveniently, Electrical Schematic Designer automatically filters for project files, making it easier for me to find the exact file that I'm looking for. As we grow with the platform and begin to add more projects, the search functionality will really come in handy. After selecting the desired project from the 3D space, our project becomes available within the project manager, at which point we can now open it. At first glance, we observe the organization of our project's document tree, which is easy to understand and totally customizable. If this were a new project, now would be the perfect time to reorganize this project to match our company's standard. Just to show you how easy it is, I'm going to add a new book, add a couple folders, some sheets, and let's add a data file, which in my case is the spec sheet for the proximity sensor we're going to use. The data file feature is very convenient because I can embed the spec sheet right into the project so I don't have to search for it every time I need it. Okay, let's get back on track because I need to add these new proximity sensors to the project. I already know that I don't have the correct proximity sensor symbol in my library, so I'm either going to have to build it or, better yet, find it. Electrical Schematic Designer also provides a new panel that allows us to connect directly to the ECP, which stands for the Electrical Content Portal. Through this new interface, I have the ability to search for a wide variety of manufacturer parts and symbols. So let's do a quick search for the word proximity and see what comes up. I'm also going to apply a filter to only search for symbols because I'm not overly concerned with the actual manufacturer part data yet. Here's a good one that should work. I'm going to download it, select it, and run through the unarchiving wizard in order to add it to our database. Now it's available, so we can add it to the project. I'm going to start by opening the desired schematic sheet and inserting the new symbol we just grabbed. There's actually a couple different ways to insert a symbol. First being the standard insert symbol command. I can pick the symbol, rotate it if I want to, and automatically add a mark. The second option is also nice, whereas I can search for a symbol based on its name, then double click or drag and drop the symbol right into the schematic. At this point, we can add the appropriate manufacturer part information as well as any additional component properties we want to include. I already know that the manufacturer part information does not yet reside within my database, but it's nice to know that I have a couple different options in order to add the necessary information. Option 1. We can go back to the electrical content portal and perform a search amongst the millions of available parts. Option 2. If you're coming from another tool, you can import your existing data by running it through Electrical Schematic Designer's import wizard. Or option 3. You could manually enter the information from your spec sheet. Personally, I say to each his own. Whatever path you find easiest, go for it. For me, I actually like entering the information myself. Luckily, I have some solid teammates. Thomas just sent me a message through our team chat using the conversations tool within 3D Experience that he's already gone ahead and entered all of the part information and uploaded it to 3D Space. So now, back within Electrical Schematic Designer, I will grab the part by loading it from the server. Depending on how many parts I have in my 3D space, I can utilize the search functionality to help me narrow down my options. I'm going to simply select the file and the part is automatically added. It's also nice to know that this functionality is available for all types of Electrical Schematic Designer files, such as projects, symbols, cables, or even an entire environment. I need to continue building the schematic by adding a few more components and the associated wires. But before I continue, I really want to draw attention to a feature that I believe is worth mentioning, called a macro.
This macro functionality allows me to take a component that includes all of its manufacturer part information and save it for future use. Now, this isn't a copy paste like we used to do with our old tool. It's being added to our database. So when I shut my computer down at the end of the day, unlike copy paste, the macro is still available when I come back tomorrow morning. Cutting down on design time is a huge benefit of using the macro functionality. We can cut down on design time even further because these macros are not limited to just one component. It can be a piece of a schematic, maybe an entire schematic, or even multiple sheets from inside of a project. From a logistical standpoint, it also makes sense to use macros because when thinking about the bigger picture, our design team focuses on standardizing parts from project to project, which in turn helps us cut down on overall cost, allowing us to take advantage of vendor price breaks. I recently learned about another incredible feature that I know will help our team even more. The macro capability that I just preached about, I can utilize it even further with a feature called Excel automation. Every macro I create has a unique name. My team and I have worked together to create a standard naming convention for our macros. It's not necessary, but it definitely helps. In conjunction with creating each macro, I've also created an Excel spreadsheet that contains the name of each macro I want to use within a specific project. Using Excel automation, I can pick the appropriate spreadsheet and let Electrical Schematic Designer generate the schematic for me. I did not have to draw anything because it's utilizing the macros that I've already created and piecing them together automatically. Now, I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to these spreadsheets. I've incorporated some unique formulas and, more importantly, a sheet that contains configuration options. This configuration is designed to enable specific macros based on fields selected from each drop-down list. Our design process begins even earlier now because my sales team has access to this spreadsheet through the 3D Experience platform, which means they can capture customer desired specifications immediately, then send us the spreadsheet and we can run Excel automation. Talk about cutting down on design time.
All right, let's get back to the automation equipment and dealing with those proximity sensors.
With the addition of these new sensors, we should also consider updating our PLCs. Electrical Schematic Designer also provides intelligent PLC management tools. After deciding on the appropriate manufacturer part, I'll select Insert PLC and generate the schematic symbol automatically. I can even go as far as defining a specific macro for each I/O port within the PLC. Now, when I insert the PLC, it will also include each I/O's associated circuit. This function provides me with a great starting point for my design and requires a lot less manual entry. As our project matures, there are still some additional steps I need to complete. Design Rule Check is another great tool worth mentioning. They're very similar to reports, but I like to run them while I'm in the middle of my design to make sure I'm moving in the right direction. There are a variety of different types of checks we can run. One example is wires without mark. At first glance, we can see that every wire in my project still needs a mark, and therefore is listed here. So let's go ahead and take care of that now and number our wires. Wire numbering used to be a very manual process. It was always one of those tasks that I had to do, but I tried to ignore until I absolutely had to finish. That's just not the case anymore. With just 2 clicks of the mouse, my wire numbers have been added. Is there an engineering change that's going to mess up my entire numbering scheme? Okay, well, I'll delete them and then reassign the wire numbers. It's a lot less painful than the old method and gets our job done just that much faster. If we take a quick look at our design rule check again, we can see that the list is now empty. Now that we have wire numbers, it's only natural to want to generate our to from wire report. Within the report manager, we can take a look at the various report types our team requires for our drawing packages. We have our bill of materials, our to from wire report, a cabling report, and even a basic drawing list. Something that our integration and manufacturing team appreciates is that we can help them by generating a wire label report that they can simply import into the company's wire label printer. I can generate the reports and add them directly to the project. Another report that our integration team finds valuable is a terminal block drawing. This drawing is automatically generated based on the existing terminals within my project. One of my former responsibilities was generating this drawing by hand, by manually entering information into a table while evaluating the schematic. Now I tell the software to do it for me. At this point, I can export the project. Electrical Schematic Designer provides the ability to export the project to DWG or PDF. A nice addition within the latest version of Electrical Schematic Designer, I can also include any data files or spec sheets I've attached to my project. The PDF is a smart PDF and maintains links between items such as sheets and components. If I'm not ready to export to PDF, there's a slew of other functions I can utilize in regards to managing my project. I'm going to save my project back to the platform. I can either choose Save or Save with Options. Our team prefers to use the Save with Options function because it allows us to perform operations such as changing the revision, changing the maturity state, locking the project, or even adding comments. Back over on the platform, I'll check 3D Space to review that the changes have been processed. I can see that the project's maturity state is still in work. The revision has been updated, and that the project is now locked to prevent anyone else from working on it. A PDF document of the new revision has also been created. Now that I've completed the task, I'll inform my manager Vandana by moving the task from in work to completed. Vandana will receive a notification and we can continue to move forward with the project. In summary, we just witnessed a typical interaction within the platform that included team communications, project planning, data storage, and schematic design capabilities, all of which only included the electrical engineering team. But what if we needed to share data and collaborate with our mechanical teams, our vendors, our contractors, or more importantly, our customers? Here at Smoothie Co., as we grow with the 3D Experience platform, our company and our electrical engineering team plan to create additional dashboards and communities where we can create content, share ideas, and interact on a personal level while securely organizing our data successfully. Electrical Schematic Designer, along with the 3D Experience, is the future of our business.
All right, we're back. So, Electrical Schematic Designer, you can see after watching that, there's a lot of capabilities that this tool can come with, that does come with. And there's several tools and functions that we didn't even have time to talk about during that presentation, right? Things like black boxes or really diving into drawing your wires and cables. But I think one of the biggest things in there is the design reuse, the macro creation, which is tied to Excel automation, utilizing the capabilities of PLC automation or PLC automatic generation. And then to think about it on a separate note, even though this tool is called Electrical Schematic Designer, there's still plenty of people who are using this tool for hydraulics and pneumatics, and specifically with PFDs and P&IDs. Eric, Joe, CJ, do you have anything else to add to that?
Well, I think for me, it kind of comes down to the top 5 overall benefits. First is automating the design of electrical specific tasks, right? We automate those capabilities, automate reporting, But I think for me, as I harped on earlier, improving the speed, accuracy, and clarity of information really kind of rounds out my top 5 in terms of achieving business outcomes. And all these capabilities add up to that. And then the power of the 3D Experience platform really makes sure that you have controlled access to the latest information right away in one place to go look for it. And I think that's my summary.
Good points. Solid information there, CJ.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of clear power and advantage that CJ just got into quite a bit and built on what was said with respect to the design. But CJ, I have to take and look forward to this communication aspect significantly. So personally, when I organize things, I use a lot of different tools, and I think a lot of people that are in the audience are probably in that same boat. So if we can go to the next, JP.
Yeah, I was trying to. There you go.
Okay. So, I use a bunch of these tools that are shown on the left side here, and I think most of us are in the same boat, and I believe there's probably more as well. And like somebody sent me a picture of a competitive machine that I want to study before we design our next generation. Now, where did I put that picture? Was that from a text message, or did they send me an iPhone image, or where did that come from? I can't remember where I saw that or what I did with it exactly. But on the 3D Experience platform, I can have those conversations with CJ and Joe and JP, right? And we can do just what we did with the Smoothie Co. example. We can talk about the proximity sensor, and we can talk about the PLCs and all of these things. And we can search across the whole thing, and we can go find that picture I'm talking about, that picture of a competitive machine that we want to study. We don't have to try to scratch our heads and remember, was it was it one of the was it WhatsApp or was it Skype? I can't remember where that picture was. I just look on the platform, go across communities, go across conversations, look in my 3D drive. I have everything in one place, and I've got the tools to search across that one place. So it's very, 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 very significant streamlining the way I work. And I think people on the phone, on the web here today, on this session, I think would probably see the same types of benefits as well. So now, taking the conversation and just building a little bit further, on the communications aspects. JP, I think the video took us through a lot of the specific design tools, the electrical design tools, which everybody is so interested in particular. But there's so much more to product development than just the design tools. So everybody has these kinds of needs that we've spoken about, but people would, I think probably 100% of people on this session would like to do it with less work and less expense, less effort, like IT overhead. Who wants to have to go deal with servers if your job is to design a product? Go get and set up servers to be able to manage that workflow that the video showed us, taking us in work and taking us to the step in work and then taking it further along as we progress. All that stuff's baked right into 3D Experience platform and is at your fingertips using Electrical Schematic Designer. So, reduced overhead from IT perspective, the ability to manage and work together, store everything, manage that life cycle, whether it's the 4 of us on a job or whether it's 40 of us on a job. we can expand that and monitor the life cycle of a project even as it goes bigger, and keep track of all the steps. Even our boss, Vonda, in our little skit here, in our little video, she loves that planning tool. It's great. It's a great tool. And whatever we need, there's hundreds more applications from basically the App Store. Think of the platform as also like an app store. There's tons of simulation and other types of roles or applications that can help you extend your solution when you need to do something special. Electromagnetic analysis, structural analysis, thermal, all those types of things. You need them, we've got them on the platform. So lots and lots of advantages here. I'd be hard pressed, CJ, to come up with 5 myself, but I would say that these here being 6 would have to be key benefits for me.
So with that said, next steps, right? What do we want people to take away from this video and this presentation that we have here for you? Well, if you're definitely interested in learning more about it, first things first, reach out to your local value-added reseller, right? Your local partner that you get your Dassault Systems products from. If you want to learn more on your own, you can also visit the Electrical Schematic Designer webpage. You can take your phone out real quick, take that camera, open up that camera app, and there'll be a link there once you scan that QR code. Now, while this is up on the page right here, we did get a couple questions. I'd like to take a minute to try to answer those. So let me take a look at this list real quick and see if there's any in here that are relevant to so the one question that we get every single time, and it might have been answered previously, was, is this webinar being recorded? Why, yes, it is, and it will be available to you soon in the near future. Other than that, Eric, I think this question might be worth answering for you. Why should somebody go? Let me put this in easier terms here. Why ESX over SWE? So why Electrical Schematic Designer over SolidWorks Electrical?
Sure, JP, I'll be happy to try to take that question. I think that everybody that's involved in electrical design and mechanical design is certainly involved in overall product development challenges. And a lot of these points that we were talking about just a minute ago or so are really pertinent to this challenge. So the ability to work together, communicate, reduce the amount of setup and IT overhead, all these kinds of benefits are something that could really benefit everyone that needs to work together as a development team. And it's just a whole expanded set of tools beyond what is in SolidWorks Electrical Schematic Professional. So it's an extended solution set to help streamline your business. That's the way I look at that, JP.
I think it's a good answer. I've got a follow-up question, not so much in that regard. A little twist the change of pace here, but one question that popped up was, well, let me give a little backstory to this first before I ask this question. So we did talk a little bit about the electrotechnical aspect of this tool, right? The automation industry or that kind of industry is really our wheelhouse, right? But it doesn't mean that we can't handle other industries, right? The tool itself. Now, what industries are using this tool? Do you know off the top of your head of any of the industries maybe other than automation industry that is using ESX?
Sure. We can talk a little bit about that. So when you look at some of the tools or the tasks that people are doing, they're creating control systems. They're integrating controls into machinery. That can be in an industrial equipment context in terms of one industry. Certainly could be in medical equipment from the standpoint of like an MRI machine or a CAT scanning, that type of a machine. It's different industry, but there's a lot of the same types of tasks that go into it. And of course, the ability to keep track of everything, document everything. Those kinds of things are common. Certainly, the notion of putting electrical controls in a box, in a control panel, that type of activity that can go on in other, even some types of vehicles. And certainly, in building controls for fire alarm protections, security systems, you'll often see control panels in a building context, in an AEC type of design shop. So lots of applications for this type of electrotechnical tool set that we've outlined here today.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised as well that we're also in aerospace and defense, automotive. It's almost everybody that uses electricity in their products. If they need to connect the circuit boards to power control systems, it's pretty universal. In fact, I've got one customer that has a design they did with electrical, and they call it the $1 billion harness because their product is about $1 billion, and it doesn't work without the harness. So they saw that as a key component of the technology.
Let's see. Let's take a couple more questions here. We got a few more minutes. Let's take this one because I think we can answer this question. There's two versions of this question. Can I use Electrical Schematic Designer ESX with CATIA? Let me add to that. There is a role on the platform called Electrical 3D Systems Designer. I know it as ELG. All right. Can I use ESX, Electrical Schematic Designer, with CATIA, or even deeper down the rabbit hole with ELG? I guess maybe that one be for let's stick with Eric. You've been answering them all so far.
Okay, sure. Well, the timing of this question and the timing of this webinar is really good because just a couple of weeks ago in April, we released the FD 02 release of the 3D Experience platform, and in that was a set of enhancements in this ELG tool that JP describes, and in there is the first release where Electrical Schematic Designer ESX can in fact connect to the ELG 3D tool for CATIA. So CATIA users, if you're involved in machine design, for example, it's now you're now able to connect to the 3D tool to be able to add your cables, wire in sensors, power motors, all those types of tasks, be able to determine which paths are preferable within the machine, all those kind of things. You can do it now using your ELG role. So quite new news, JP.
That's good to hear. So included in that, I think a follow-up question that just popped up as well is, we were talking about the CATIA side, but what about SOLIDWORKS? What about the SOLIDWORKS on the 3D side? Is this tool going to connect to that as well?
Sure. So in the desktop, on SOLIDWORKS Electrical Desktop, those of you that are viewing today, you may be SOLIDWORKS Electrical Desktop users, and you're familiar with the SOLIDWORKS Electrical Schematic, the professional version that connects to SOLIDWORKS Electrical 3D. And that's used every day for design around the world on the desktop. Well, there is a version, platform version of SOLIDWORKS Electrical 3D that's coming. It's in development right now. And I don't want to say it'll be approximately a year. We'll have that available to users. And so that users of ESX will then be able to connect to that platform tool, that SOLIDWORKS 3D Experience SOLIDWORKS Electrical 3D. That tool will enable you to run your wires, your plant your motors, position your motors, everything in 3D, and do all of those types of tasks on 3D Experience platform, but not quite available yet, but it's definitely in development.
Let's see if we can get one of our sales reps over here, Mr. CJ or Mr. Joe, and they can let's see if they can answer a technical question here. Can I use my SOLIDWORKS electrical information inside of this tool? I know the answer. I want to see if they know the answer.
I know the answer.
Do you want to take that one? We could play Jeopardy.
Of
Sure.
course you can.
The ESX role is fully compatible with your SolidWorks electrical desktop application data. So if you've created projects on the desktop version, you want to make that move to the cloud to take advantage of the cloud-based collaboration and lifecycle management, some of those other benefits that JP and Eric have been talking about, then the good news is your data will migrate seamlessly.
Yeah, just file open basically.
It was in the video too. There was a spot where you can you are able to take those archived files and pull them into ESX, into Electrical Schematic Designer. A follow-up question to that is, can I import my I don't know if I'm supposed to say the other name, my competitor, my older tool, can I pull in the part information from my other tool that I'm using?
Absolutely. There's a series of wizards and interfaces to bring in data from legacy CAD systems and bring it forward into Electrical Schematic Designer. It's no problem. It's very easy.
And I think we have time for one more question here. I think it's relevant. Is this tool replacing SOLIDWORKS Electrical? I want to say no. I don't think it's replacing it. I think it's giving our users and people around the world another option to what they have. Eric, you can probably correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's the right answer for that, right? It's, you know, we don't want to take that away. You have this option of going and utilizing the cloud if you'd like, or using your desktop tool.
Well,
yeah, we're going to let the market decide that one for us, I think, JP. See what people, whether people want to, you know, continue with some desktop or whether people want to all go to the cloud. I mean, there's different needs, different interests amongst customers. We're going to let them decide.
Yeah, and I think the good news is Dassault Systems spends over $1 billion annually in R&D. So we have the financial strength and resources to develop both or take it wherever the market decides it needs to go, whether it's cloud or whatever the future may hold. We have the resources to get us there.
Well, I think we are just about out of time. I do see a whole bunch of additional questions here. I apologize if we did not get to them, but these questions are recorded and we will try to reach out to you separately. Or if you want an answer sooner than we can get it to you, please reach out to your value-added reseller. They are more than capable of answering a lot of these questions as well. And again, you can check out that QR code that we have on the screen right now and learn a little bit more about what Electrical Schematic Designer has to offer. Hope everybody has a great day and has a great week. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.